Rugby is a game of passion, speed and power. Playing rugby is a great experience and a great talking point with people, and yet when asked what you do, when you answer, all you get is a glazed look of confusion. Unlike football, in which somebody naturally understands the meaning of attacker, midfielder and defender, if you say to someone you play prop or lock or outside centre, all you're doing is telling them a random selection of letters. So what I plan to do is help explain each and every position you can play across the pitch in rugby union, from the battlefield of the front row all the way to the speed machines of the wing. You will learn what it takes to play each and every position, for things like training in diets to injury prevention and tricks of the trade.
And this sorts the men from the boys. Pause, engage!
Away they go again, massive scrum. Picked up now by Morgan, he rolls, tries to get it down, but it is a penalty try, says Nigel Owens. England have their try, the forwards have their reward.
Well, that's what they were going for. They didn't want a three-pointer or even an attempt at. They wanted...
A rugby team comprises of 15 players, 8 forwards and 7 backs. The scrum-half wears the number 9 shirt and is part of the backs. He is placed right at the front of what is known as the back line, in front of the fly half, and is the link man between the forwards and the backs. But in one sentence, what is the scrum-half?
To organise the forwards and to deliver as quick as ball possible on the front foot to the backs.
Well, your job as a number 9 is basically to organise and tell the forwards what to do. Put them around the park, move them around. You know, your skill set's pretty important with passing and your kicking, but you have to be quite vocal and you have to boss your pack around. So, you know, that's one of your main attributes, is to be quite loud.
With the ball, clearly your job is to start the play. So from a scrum, you're putting the ball in, and these days it has to be straight, which is a shame, but put the ball in straight and then get usable possession for the backs. Whether the 8 picks up or not, it needs to be usable possession, so your job is really to get that. And then in terms of the line out, you're the deliverer of communication, whether it's a drive and ball delivered moving forward, or you're delivering straight to the backs to launch a attack that should gain you either ground, depending on what position you are in the field, or try and deliver you a try, 5 points.
With the scrum or the line out, my job would be to liaise with the 10, seeing what we're calling, what the move we're calling, and then to communicate that to the forwards, make sure that every forward knows where we're going, what we're doing, and then to basically get the ball away from that set piece as quick as possible.
My role is, from set pieces, to organise what line out we're going to go into, whether it's a 7-man or a 5-man. We'll be discussing that with the 10, and obviously if we're going to go drive with the line out or off the top ball, and my main priority is to get the service out to the 10, which is he's got to move ready and hopefully something to break the defence.
Yeah, you're organising the defence, you're just an absolute communication tool for the forwards at the line out time, the back row at scrum time, the backs, you're kind of in the middle as usual. You're in the middle between the back row and the forward in the backs from scrum time. So you're just a constant negotiation with the referee, but also communication tool for the whole team. Really, you are the leader in terms of that, because the forwards, notoriously will have their head down. They don't actually see anything. So you're constantly, communicating to them. You're the second line of defence, so you're constantly organising the front line. If there's a gap, you may try to get somebody to fill it, but sometimes you have to fill it. Then you're the second line of defence for the chips, so somebody, a fly half chips or a centre chips through. That's your job to gather it with the back 3, either full back or wings, and you provide support. So I was always a scrum half that liked to get involved in bits of the action. So you provide support. So if somebody is finding it tough to bring somebody down, you could be that next line to come in and actively tackle and jackal the ball, which I enjoyed. But mainly your job is to organise the defence. When the defence is on top, you don't actually do that much. And if you come off the field having, the nirvana is you didn't make a tackle because you've organised your defence so well.
Open play, my job would be to organise. In attack, would be to organise the forwards, either get them coming around the corner off a 9, out off 10, liaise the calls of game from 10 to 9, back to the forwards, and to get the ball away as quick as possible to wherever we need to go, either a short pop to the forwards, a long pass to the 10, attack round the fringes. You have to look up to see what you're doing, and my job in defence would be completely different. I'd be behind the defensive line, organising. I'd be putting players in the places I need them to be.
Hoping there's a lot of running involved. So literally just the kind of the link with the forwards and the backs, and it's quite a key role within the team. As I said, there's a lot of running and there's a lot of decisions. You've got to play heads up rugby and try and make decision as quickly as possible, and you have to have a good distribution game, and if the 10's not getting it, they're happy to let you know how poor your passing is, but hopefully that doesn't happen too often.
Yeah, you do have the same problem, but I've especially made gum shield, so it's quite thin. So it's a lot easier to talk with a thinner gum shield. Mike Cueto's got a massive jaw, so that's a lot of plastic inside that mouth, so it would be difficult to talk with that in. Myself, I've got quite a thin gum shield, so and for me, what the problem you have as a rugby player is you don't never train with your gum shield in, and it restricts your breathing, so you try and train with it in as much as possible, and you'll be surprised how quickly you get used to talking with it in and how to wear it and what to do with it. And the worst thing you can do as a player is just keep taking it out to talk. Just leave it in and try and work around it, and players will understand you then as well.
Not really, no. I mean, gum shield is important, and you've got to be able to be heard, and the communication has got to be so clear, because when it's not just at the start of the game, when you're tired, your listening skills aren't as good sometimes, and the brain might be reacting, but it's a lot slow, or it's a lot quicker than your actual body because you're fatigued. So the clarity and communication is vital, but you just get used to it. You train with it in. Some people struggle, but I never did because I was so loud. People could hear me, and it's just the same as a fly half. People ask me who was the best fly half to play with. Sometimes it was the loudest guy, because you just had confidence when somebody's positively communicating with you in a loud capacity. It gives you comfort. You're making the right decisions all the time, and you're passing to the right person. So whenever there's an option left or right, it was the loudest person that got it. I think first and foremost for me it was always around the delivery of the ball, so the speed of pass, which I prided myself on, and then it's around being I guess a ninth forward to support the forwards, and then really it's around being the little general on the pitch. Interestingly, the French view Scrum-half slightly differently. They almost play like the number 10. In the British Isles, it's more the 10 is the general, but I always viewed that I whether it was the chain of command, but I was sort of second general. But you are such a big positive decision maker and leader in the team. You're the constant person that's communicating. You're with the referee and your players, the management, everyone. So you're such an important position. That's why I loved it. You're in the thick of the action all the time. You always touch the ball. But I think the key attributes is obviously delivery of pass, organisation skills and leadership, and then thirdly probably being that ninth forward. Taking the ball forward sometimes. I didn't always break, but when you did, it had to be the right decision. So decision making is another key aspect.
I'd say you need to have a good core skill set. You need to have a good pass and a good kick. That's the main thing. You pass the ball on average 80, 90 times a game. You need to be a good communicator, both in attack and defence. You need to organise your whole team. You need to understand every role of every player on that pitch. And you need to just back yourself. You have to be arrogant, a little bit of arrogance and confidence. There's a fine line between the two, but you are one of the main ball players on the park. So you need to realise that and start performing and showing people that you're good.
Good basic skills. You have to have a good kick, good pass, good communicator, because you're doing a lot of talking with the 9s and with the 10s and the forwards, and also your defence role as well is a big. Growing up when you're young and you're playing 9, defence isn't too much of an issue as a scrum half, but the older you get and the higher up you play your rugby, and defence becomes a big part of it.
I think it's a comment that I'll make for any position on the pitch. Really, is that when you look at the key attributes of a position, is you just try to be the best that you can be in that position. I think the game is changing. Athletes now are totally built differently from an early age than they used to be. So in terms of the strength and the speed, the game is much quicker. The game will have the ball in play a lot longer. But in terms of my position, it still helps when you're kind of a stocky, short individual, because you're always scrabbling around on the floor trying to get the ball to your number 10. So it's important to have a strong core mainly, rather than being super strong. But it does help because you're always near the ball. So the guys that are impressive over the ball are really strong. Can rip the ball and win possession back, but also deliver the ball quickly to the number 10. So it's the game is developing and changing. I still see that delivering the ball is the most key aspect to a scrum half play.
It's difficult because my style, scrum halves play a different style of rugby. You look at Darren Allinson, he's quite speedy, agile, or make a break, or step you, whereas I was quite forceful. And I didn't need a gap, I just needed to make a one-on-one. So I just needed someone to do a one-on-one tackle. It's quite difficult to get the two, because some players are quick and some players aren't so quick. So I think you need to find out what you're good at. Like, I know I was good at attacking around the fringes, so I'd sacrifice a little bit of speed for a little bit of bulk, and I'd go that way, where Danny Kerr would rather keep the bulk off and get the speed.
The best way I could describe it, and the reason I loved the game so much, was my view was like a chessboard. I had pieces in front of me, and we teach children to find space, and that's what I was after the whole time. As I was after space, and it might be a big area at the back of the pitch where you see no fullback and no winger, and you kick to that area, or it might be the tiniest of space, but it makes the most impact, very close to the ruck, and you're through the gap, and you're in behind the defence. So it's finding that space, and one of the things that really helped me in the game was having a vision expert come into the World Cup, Cheryl Calder, who viewed your eyes like a muscle. We were pumping a lot of iron and developing ourselves physically, but what were we doing to train the muscle? The eye got as tired as any other muscle in a game. And so that helped me, but also opened up my vision even greater to what it was. So you're always constantly on the lookout for any space, but also positioning your players in the right areas too. So it's a totally different game in that respect. It's all about the vision. It's all around seeing the game, but also evaluating the game. I used to evaluate the game every 10 minutes of every game to see where we were. Were we on top? Were we behind? What did we need to change? So my tactical responsibility was totally different to what Matt was saying is just crash bang wallop. I viewed the whole jigsaw piece and the whole chessboard as my responsibility.
I think there is a lot there's a lot of technical and tactical stuff you have to know, more so tactical than technical. It's a bit like a golf swing. If you pass the ball the same every time, you'll get the same outcome, and you're just repetitively training. So you're just repetitively doing it. You do 100, 150 passes a week, 200 passes a week, and then your body becomes muscle memory and you learn from it. It's more tactical. You have to be quite alert to. You have to do a lot of analysis, not only of the opposition but of yourself. You have to be quite critical of your own team. I wouldn't say constantly do running. you do a lot of running in training anyway, because as a scrum half, if you're going through team moves, you're running around the pitch all the time, so you do get a lot of fitness base from that. And yeah, your fitness drills will be slightly different. You know, you run at a 70% speed for a long distance, whereas, you know, your centres and your wings are really quick, short bursts, and your props don't even run. They just walk around and plod. So, you know, I think our fitness is at the elite level is structured so we get the best out of it.
Yeah, we do. Obviously, and you've got in pre-season where the conditioners like to take the boys who do a lot of running. So you've got your 9s, you've got your 7s. We'll do a little top up on top of what everyone else does, and that's key because we generally do the most running within the game, and to have your fitness at your peak, you putting in those extra meters helps a lot.
I think the back three still do a lot more running, but yeah, I mean you've got to follow the ball. If the ball's flying around the pitch, then you've got to be near it to make the decisions, to be able to touch and influence the game. So yeah, you've got to be fit. I think that's the great thing is that you have no impact on the scrum in terms of other than putting the ball in, but the power in which these guys train and what they lift and the sheer pain of exercise that they went through to make that scrum go forward. But you know, as a scrum half, you prided yourself on sort of dipping into every part of the game, and you needed the core strength and ability and attribute that any rugby player needs. So you need the core strength to get over the ball and jackal it. You needed the good tackling skills and the physicality in that regard. So you need to be of a size to actually impact the defence. And then you've got to be fit. You've got to be everywhere on the pitch. So you've got to be lean. You know, I was quite heavy when I was a youngster during my university days, and it didn't help me get around the pitch very well. But it helped me get over the line over 5 meters. So it's a constant balance, and I enjoyed every aspect of the game. The other bit we haven't spoken about is kicking. You know, I was a kicking 9. I loved kicking for goal as well as for touch and aerially. You know, it's priding yourself on being an expert in every single kick. You never know when you would need to take a drop goal or do a drop out. I loved all that part of it, so I trained as hard as any kicker really in that regard, other than Johnny.
Yeah, I mean, you are told that you can't eat certain things. I think it's quite common sense, to be fair. You know, if you go out every night, you're having fish and chips, you know you're going to put weight on. It's life. If you go out every night, you have a couple of pints, you're going to put weight on. So, you know, you're not so much lectured on it and told what to eat and told what not to eat. You just get regularly monitored. So you know if you're putting body fat on, you know your diet's not great, so you need to cut back on your treats, you know, and the snacks that you're eating and that sort of thing. But we are quite structured, as in you do get fat tested a lot. You know, you do get your pee tested, make sure you're hydrated, and you do know what to eat. And when you're at the club, there's a chef there cooking for you anyway, so you can only eat what's there. She doesn't cook like porridge with Nutella in it or stuff like that. That's definitely not allowed. But you know, it's common sense really. Surprisingly,
when I was young, we had at Cardiff Blues we had a Canadian conditioning coach, Dan Barr, a clean off character, and he just said I was too small and too light, so he just said, look, just eat what you want, whether it's McDonald's, curry, get a few Guinnesses. If you don't like it, just drink it. I didn't take his advice, but yeah, a good diet obviously helps. The less body fat you carry and the fitter you are helps a lot on game day.
Through the amateur to professional era, and one hand in just as it was getting professional, we were told to eat sort of high carbohydrate, high sugar intake just to get energy for the games, and consequently put on a ton of weight. To then sort of stripping that bare and reducing your carbohydrate intake during the week, obviously around games have it high, but then to a protein diet and a complex mix of the two. So I'd seen all the diets that were going, and I guess the most positive effect I had was meeting a guy when I was at Worcester Warriors who really impacted my diet, and it's got to make sense to each individual, and it did to me at that time. But my fitness coach at the time, Margot Wells, kind of said, it is an important aspect to your game, nutrition, but I always put it in context of how important it was. You know, it's a couple of percent rather than 30%. There are other areas of your professional life that count. But yeah, it's still really, really important. You know, for game day, you want it to be as the most responsive you could be, and diet does have an impact on that. But also, you want to enjoy the diet, right? You don't want it to be a chore. No, I genuinely couldn't. I went on feeling, so if my concentration levels were low than normal, then I'd up my carbohydrate intake. It's a general feeling you gain from it, which then is linked to the placebo and the actual mental state that you're in. So I didn't ever go into it too scientific. I mean, at the advent with England, it being professional, I remember weighing food and being really detailed on that, but I was just so focused on other things that I viewed it as important, but not as important as passing the ball to my number 10.
You'd eat a lot. You would eat a lot. You could eat about 4,000 or 5,000 calories a day. The difficult part is pre-season, because you're burning a lot of calories and you're not hungry, and I think that's the hardest part as a player, is eating for the sake of fueling up, because that's what it is. You're not eating because you're hungry, you're eating because you need the fuel to get through the day. And I find as a player that difficult. But you will burn 5,000 calories a day, easy, if it's a hard training day.
Personally, I eat 3,400 a day.
Well, you'd have your breakfast at home. You'd always eat before you went training. Then you'd have a water and a protein shake. And then you'd have your weights. You'd have a protein shake after weights. You'd then go and have brunch, which would be your breakfast, which could be porridge, kippers, steak, green beans, scrambled eggs, whatever. And then you'd have training, your lunch, train again. There'd be a snack after, soup and bread. And then you'd have your evening meal. So you could have 5-6 portions a day. But it's what you eat. You can't have 5-6 portions of unhealthy food. It's got to be protein-based, vegetable-based, not full of potatoes or pasta.
4 or 5 meals.
You kind of have to change the generic diet of 3 meals a day. You eat a lot more, that's for sure, but you're burning so many more calories. But I was always on the view of trying to reduce my weight, so I was always trying on the reduced amount of intake rather than the maximum. I used to watch what the forwards ate, and I was just absolutely staggered. It was double the portion and double the amount during the day. About amount of meal times. So for me, if I could get 4 meals a day in, that was probably my limit. I never went to the extreme of too much more. Again, it was just down for me to energy levels. I didn't want to bulk up. I wanted to reduce the size.
Yeah, we call it prehab. So you get injured, you have rehab. They have a prehab session, so you end up doing certain elements of with a TheraBand and certain stuff in the gym that helps you strengthen those muscles around your shoulders and your knees, because they're the ones that you need to try and keep tight and strengthen, because if you're going to get an injury, that'll be where it is.
Yeah, I mean, I was lucky with when it went professional, I employed my own fitness coach, which is Margot Wells. And I don't think it's any coincidence that the standout player in the Six Nations was Mike Brown, who's coached by Margot Wells. He is exhausted mentally and physically from the Six Nations, but he got 3 Man of the Match awards, arguably, and should have got 4 out of 5 games, and hasn't had any fitness issues. So for me, I had the foundation of somebody who knew the physiology of a body and how it, in rugby, it breaks, and it does because of impacts. It's really hard to be fit every single weekend, and to manage that is really, really tough. So your foundation of your fitness exercises really help you. There is the other thing that I probably didn't run fast enough to get injured, but she enabled us and fixed us to make sure that we played every single week, and that when we were playing, we were flying, and that's a special skill. So I let her deal with that and worry about that, and all I wanted was to feel good on a Saturday afternoon and play to the best of my ability. Everything. I mean, cool down is important, but the most important, for any person is involved in the game is the warm up. Getting the guys warm and fit and ready to go, so they're not going to pull anything, but also mentally attuned. It's fundamentally it's part of the process, and you need to be in the right frame of mind to hit the ground running when you after a warm up. So I'd gauge with the fitness staff how we were positioned as a team before even kick-off started, whether the guys were truly up for it, whether they weren't, and what you had to do. So it's a barometer of where you're at, before you've even kicked a ball.
A warm-up is important, and I mean a warm-up, not a let's go out and kick a ball to each other warm-up, unless you can drop the ball through the post warm-up. A proper warm-up is important, and I think as a player you know where you struggle. Like, I know I struggle with my calves, and I know that if I didn't hydrate enough before a game I'd pull a calf, or if I didn't warm up correctly I'd pull it. And I think players know where they're stiff and where they need to warm up, so you need to take time before the team warm up to go out and actually warm up. It is massively important. Cool downs are important, but I don't think they're as important as a warm up.
I don't think it's because of that, because the smaller guys are always kind of difficult to get hold of. Pete Stringer was a very small scrum half and very difficult to get hold of. Really stocky, and threw that ball to number 10 so quickly. But trying to get hold of him was impossible, especially against the Munster pack. But no, I think you target the scrum half purely because he's such a linchpin in the team, and it's a bit like sacking the quarterback in American football. It has such a dramatic impact, and I viewed that personally as a tactic of my own game, was to stop the opposite 9 playing. And if I could get a couple of sacks on him again, it put him off his game, but also we would try and get a turnover. Plus the 10's not getting the ball. The 10 kind of viewed still as the best player on the pitch. And if you could stop that 9-10 axis operating, then you've got every chance of winning the game, especially if you've got ascendancy in the forwards. So yeah, I mean, we targeted the 9 not because of his size, because he was important, member of the team.
I think we are targeted more, purely because we're the link between the two. A fly-half's job is massively important on a pitch, but I've always said the fly-half doesn't get the ball unless I want to pass it to him, and it's simple as that. And I do think a scrum-half's position is massive. You are the link between the forwards and the backs, and if you can get to their 9, opposite 9, and ruffle him up and give him a few little digs, then by all means go for it, because it might put him off his game. So yeah, you are targeted quite a bit.
Well, I don't know if Mike Phillips will be happy with that, but teams will try and target you at set piece, maybe if you're standing out, but to be fair, I don't know many 9s who are not scared of getting stuck into tackles. They're usually quite feisty ones, and I'm pretty sure not many teams target 9s.
You just know, because when you're planting for a pass, you can afford to be slightly longer on it and concentrate and really see the ball get to your number 10, because it's all around the follow through and the accuracy of the pass. I still see scrum halves, in the fly half sort of jumping for the ball, or it's slightly catching it behind you, and it has such an impact on your go forward. The ability to break the gain line is so much easier when the ball's just on the run the whole time. And so at ruck time, if you're under pressure, you're always slightly on the back foot. You're making the pass slightly quicker without following through, and the result is dramatic. You can see exactly where the gain line is from the quality of the pass. So the protection around the base of any scrum, the line out maul to the ruck, for you to win a game and get what I call fluidity and rhythm in the game, that protection there is paramount. I mean, but I always prided myself on getting rubbish ball and delivering clean, quick ball. But that was the challenge. It was much more enjoyable, on the front foot and running forward and being able to orchestrate things rather than being, pressured at the base and digging for it and and also being pressured yourself, because as soon as you're going backwards, the ball might go backwards, and you're not getting that front foot ball.
Oh, I think that's massive for a scrum half. Your pack has got to look after you. They always say, the scrum half's having an armchair ride, and that's how it should be. They've changed the laws a little bit now, so you can't get pulled in as a 9 at the ruck. A few seasons ago, when you could get pulled in, it was brutal. You get pulled in and kicked. And as you can see by the looks, I don't want to get kicked very often. I've got a model-looking face. I'm a good-looking lad. So yeah, it is massively important to your pack to actually look after your 9. And your scrum halves are chirpy and loud, and they do get in trouble. And if I do get in trouble, I expect my packs to come in and help me out.
The forwards help a lot on ruck time if it's our ball, and the more protection they give me, then easier it is for me to get the ball out to the backs. And but as I say, the physicality of the game, the 9s are just as physical as anyone else, but with just a bit more aggression.
Yeah, I think so. They're safer. You don't see as many collapse scrums, although tactically I still view that as still happening. Whether a penalty or free kick is sufficient, I'm not too sure. It's because the scrum still has such a big impact on the game. For usable possession and dominance, I think it's still a great part of the game. Rugby league has it so differently. It's just a way of starting the game, whereas for us it still has a massive impact. So I still think it's there, and I think with the help of the assistant referees, the touch line, and the referee in the middle, I think that you're getting a better product, as it were, from that part of the game. As long as they're stopping this sort of collapsing the scrums and re-scrum, collapse, re-scrum, which tends to lose the audience. I think that's an important part, but people don't genuinely realise how difficult it is, and different guys that hit each other, different sizes. It's a real art what those guys do, and I used to sit listening to Phil Vickery and Trevor Woodman speak a different language, about the arts and dark arts of the scrum, and I genuinely had no idea what they were talking about. But the skill involved in what they do is phenomenal.
I think they're working. I think it's good for the props and the hookers. It reduces the collision, and I think it reduces the time that the scrums go down and collapse. And I do think it is showing a bit of improvement. I just think we spend a lot of time resetting scrums. Like if the ball is at the back of a scrum and they go down, just get the ball out. Just tell the 9 to play it. Let's not reset the scrum. The ball's there to be played. Let them play it, and then let's get on with it. But I do think the new laws are helping the scrums.
To be fair, I think it's helped a lot, and we're having a lot more clean ball now as a backline, a lot more attacking opportunities, and I think the laws have helped that, and it's a positive impact on the game.
I'd say they haven't done anything to it. The only thing they've really done is you have to now really wait a long time for the referee sometimes to say yes 9, or to tap you to say put the ball in. Whereas before, if your team would win the hit, you'd put the ball in straight away because you got the dominant hit, which is, I think it's taken that element out of the game. But as a scrum half, it's not really affected us.
Not really, no. I mean, it was still the same complexity of, you put the ball in at the right time. I mean, you're forced to put the ball in now. You get a tap and you have to put it in, whereas before you chose when you put it in. We always used to try and get the hit, and then I'd put the ball in, and the hooker wouldn't even have to hook because you've got such a good hit. And then sometimes you get a bad hit, I'm not putting the ball in, whereas now, and I'm trying to influence, they've hit before and I need a penalty. You can't do that really anymore. You're kind of at the beck and call of the referee telling you what to do, and if you have to put it in, you have to put it in straight, knowing full well that your ascendancy may be with the opposition, and you're putting the ball in knowing you're going to lose it. It's pretty brutal. So it has changed in that regard, and you have to be a lot more cannier than we used to. Every scrum half at scrum time's trying to win over one another and the team. So.
I wouldn't say it's psychological. I think you are quite switched on anyway, and you are mentally focused. You are in the zone. So I think you just sort of plod through it. Scrum times, I think for us as a scrum half, you can tend to switch off a little bit because you know that it's going to probably get reset once or twice. So you do tend to relax a little bit, and it's a good time for a scrum-half to get a bit of a breather in.
I used to always go out, you know, at the back of, you know, either last but one or last, and that was only, there wasn't anything superstitious about that. It's just that I wanted to make sure I left in the right frame of mind and that the team in front of me were in the right frame of mind. And there's no real rituals. It was just purely based on, you know, mindset is such a big area in the game, and we proved it with the successful teams. And I think it's such a big area that a lot of teams overlook. Funny enough, they're the teams at the bottom. That's my honest view on the Premiership. The guys that truly spend a lot of time on it are the ones at the top.
No, I didn't really have any rituals. I didn't like fold the towel in a weird way or get a little doll that I have to put on my seat, nothing like that. I think I wouldn't put my playing shirt on until we went out. It's weird. The only thing I would do is I'd like to turn my shirt around so I could see my name on the back, but they normally do that now anyway for you. And that's about it really. You know, I put my shorts on, then my socks, and my warm-up top. I wouldn't have any. I would always put my gum shield in my left sock. I don't think that's a ritual. I just think that's because I know where it is. So I'm not really a ritual kind of guy. I wouldn't listen to music on my beats or anything. I'd listen to whatever's on in the changing room. I'd have a laugh and a joke. I wouldn't be quite serious.
Personally, I'm not the type to rev up myself or start shouting at people or anything. I'm just quite calm, just relax. I'll just sit on my seat, think about my role and what players we're going into the game with. As long as I'm clear with all those calls and I'm happy going on the field.
No, I think you need to keep exactly the same. I think it is different. The setup's different, and where you are is different, and the pressures are different. But I think you as a player, if you've got your own little routine that you have before a game, why change it? It's worked so far, so keep it the same.
Not by the end. I think I did do as a young man, but I was developing. You know, you were constantly developing. But by the end of my career, I knew exactly how to approach it, and you can't approach. You know, if you're measuring it out of 100, you can't be 99 or 100 every single game. But as long as you're in that top, 10%, and between 90 and 100, and it could vary, and that could be on international. You know, you're a human being after all. You know, no one's perfect. So by the end of my career, I was bang on every game. I viewed the other thing as well. Is I viewed the latter part of my career. I viewed every game as my last game, and that made me focus so much harder.
I'd say the best scrum-half I've played against was Morgan Parra, just because I think when I played against him, he was just immense. He's got that ability to play not just 9 but 10 as well, and I think it's quite a big difference to switch between the two. Best scrum-half at the moment, that's a hard one. I'd like to say Danny Kerr, I think he's on fire. He's literally on fire, but again, you're at Australia's he's just as good, but I'd have to go Danny Kerr. At the moment, for the Six Nations, he's literally smoking hot, and that's not good looking either. That's like playing wise.
I think at the moment it's the New Zealand scrum-half Smith. To be fair, he's probably the smallest one out there, but he plays with a high tempo. He's a physical guy for his size, and his skills are quality.
Good question. I haven't seen enough rugby recently, but Danny Kerr's had an amazing Six Nations. He's really turned around what people view him as. I think he's probably turned himself around, his own view of what he thinks he is. I think he's had a fantastic Six Nations, and he's up there now in the top 3. Everyone looks at Will Genia as a leader, captain, and somebody who can really spark. In my generation, it was George Gregan for Australia, a fantastic competitor and leader. Other than that, Mike Phillips is still up there as being an abrasive scrum half. Who else is there? Ben Youngs with the Lions, and Mike Phillips, and Yeah, I mean there's some unbelievable talent out there, but I don't think you could look further afield than sort of Will Genia and certainly Danny at the moment.
There you go then, the scrum half, the chirpy playmakers of the pack. Keep looking out for other episodes of Scrummage and learn how to play each and every position of rugby union.